On this episode of Roughing with the Sappers, we're going to do another Sapper short. I had hoped to do another game review, but unfortunately, we're having a COVID outbreak in our house. Katie and Aaron are both not available to actually work with me on this one. Bear with us here, trying to get a fast one out, but we'll try to be back with more full game reviews soon. This one, we're going to review a handball where there was a ball hit a knee and up to the hand, and it was a controversial one in a game where it would have been a penalty kick had it been called. And so let's jump right in. So just kind of queuing it up here, we were about 8 minutes into the second half here. So 40 minutes into an 80-minute game. The red team was winning 1-0 at this point, and they've got a nice breakaway along the right-hand side. Katie was the center referee. Another reason I wish she could take part in this review, but unfortunately she's sick. And I was the assistant referee on the near side, a little bit off the screen. So I'm going to play this video in its entirety first, and then let's back it up and break it down. So red's got a nice breakaway here on the right-hand side. She does a nice kick up there, and then it's played by that black player. So I'm going to back this up a little bit here, and I want to look at it with our zoomed in view. This is right before this red player kicks it. She's going to kick it, and the cross comes over. And then right here, this black player, she hits it first with her knee, with her arms back like this. And then you notice the ball comes up, and it looks like her arm is extended out kind of like this, and then the ball bounces off. And you can tell from this angle that the ball did really hit her arm on the way out because the ball's trajectory actually comes off at a different angle. I'm going to back up here to the moment that the ball hits her hand, and let's talk about what we would have seen on the pitch. So Kitty's off here over to the left. Now she's a little bit out of position. She would be in a more credible position had she sprinted up here along with the players and moved here kind of into this zone a few yards up at the top of the penalty area. But even had she been there, she would have been looking through this player's back and likely could not have actually seen the contact with the arm. She might have been able to see the deflection of the ball better, but she wouldn't have actually seen the contact even had she been there. And then where I was over on the right hand side, I'm looking down this line. I've got this player right in my way. Now I did see the ball go up and I saw her arm go like this, but I couldn't tell, did she get her arm out of the way and the ball go out without hitting it, or did it actually hit her arm and drop? And you can't really grant a penalty kick with on just speculation. So ultimately, we make this a no call on the pitch. So let's go to IFAB and see what it actually says here about handballs, or it's actually called handling. I understand that it's not actually handball in the law of the game, so please don't roast me in the comments for the technicality. I use them interchangeably. But I've gone to Law 12.1 under direct free kick, and under handling of the ball, it is an offense if a player does these things. So the first one is deliberately touches the ball with their hand or arm, for example, by moving the hand or arm towards the ball. We know that's not the case here because the player was actually trying to move her arm out of the way of the moving ball. So that one doesn't apply. So then we talk about this next one here, which is they touch the ball with their hand or arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger. A player is considered to have made their body unnaturally bigger when the position of their hand or arm is not a consequence of or justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific situation. That's language that leaves quite a bit to interpretation of the referee on whether or not it's unnatural for that particular situation. Now, a couple of years ago, the law actually explicitly called out a few specific examples, such as if you actively play the ball from your foot or knee or other legal playing surfaces and it hits your arm or hand on the way out. That law was updated a couple of years ago to this language that we're using now, currently in the 23-24 season. I knew about that before, but I knew it had been changed to this. And so I think on the field at the time, because if we go back to our video, this arm is out like this, I would have thought that's unnatural. Well, after this game, it kind of ate at me a little bit, like, why did that law change? And I took this video as a prime example and I sent it to a few mentors and shared it out in a couple of referee forums to try to get feedback. And I was pointed to some clarifications that IFAB offers. Let's go specifically back to IFAB, and I want to look at a section over here under about the laws of the game. Under it's got a philosophy and spirit, and then it's got a section down here under what would football want, And then down here, it has a section where it talks about to promote a better understanding of the laws, IFAB has published a new football rules, which is a simplified laws of the game for grassroots people and people who aren't at the Premier League professional levels to better understand in layman's terms the laws. So now I popped over to football rules, and if you look over here on the left-hand side, it's got it broken down by a few different categories. I'm specifically going to look at offenses and sanctions, and it's got a nice categorization here of fouls, handballs, offside, other offenses, etc. So I'm going to look here specifically at handball. And when I look at this, it's got a layman's definition, but I'm going to scroll down here to specifically some Q&A that it's got. And there's this third question here. A player heads, kicks the ball, and then it hits their own hand or arm. If we scroll that down here, it says, this is not a handball unless the ball goes directly into the opponent's goal or the player scores immediately afterwards, in which case a direct free kick is awarded to the other team. So they're saying this is not a handball. So I thought that was interesting. And another referee mentor pointed me to the IFAB Q&A section. For some reason, I cannot find the IFAB Q&A here in the desktop version of it. So if you as a referee, if you know where to find the Q&A here, please point me in the right direction. However, I was able to find it in the IFAB mobile app. So I'm going to go over to that. Here, this is actually the question. A defending player kicks the ball, which then accidentally touches their arm inside the penalty area. What is the correct decision? And the answer is it is not a handball offense, as the contact is a consequence of the player deliberately playing the ball with another part of the body against him or herself, and the referee will allow play to continue. If I go back to the moment that this sequence all happened, I feel like this is a prime example of this. So here, this ball is about to come in, and she's trying to get her knee up. Her arms are out like this, and that's a natural, if you're trying to jump and knee at the same time, and then your arms would come up and out like that. So this is sort of textbook exactly what IFAB is clarifying in those laws. What's interesting the most about this is I think most people on the field would expect that to be the handball. Even the audio, people are screaming for a handball here, so let's actually back it up and replay it with the audio on.
Handball! Handball! Sir, ma'am.
So yeah, the players there kind of expected a handball. These coaches were yelling for one. No, they were really polite about it. They had their initial outburst and they say sir, ma'am, and then they quiet down. So they weren't a problem here. But I think Katie and I, even we, would have called it a handball had we seen it clearly. And ultimately, we would have been wrong. Katie and Aaron and I have often said on this channel that everything we know for sure about the laws of the game, we know because we made a mistake once in a game. And then, just like a situation like this, there's something that doesn't quite sit right with us after a game. So we start doing some research post game. So keep this one in mind. These simplified football rules are excellent. They're very, very good resources for the layman. It really breaks it down by the way that people kind of think of the game. Definitely a tool worth knowing and having in your toolkit. So I hope this has been useful. I know that Katie and I definitely learned quite a bit from this particular situation. Hope that you picked up something as well that you can use in your games, whether you're a player, referee, or coach. Join us back here next Friday for our next upload. Hopefully, if COVID allows us to get the next one out. But I'm Scott with Reffing with the Sappers, and I'll see you out on the pitch.